Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. First slide, please. What information consumes is rather obvious. It consumes attention of its recipients. Hence, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. Herbert Simon, economist and Nobel Prize winner, 1968. My purpose in the next 7 minutes is to stimulate thinking of the future of civility in the public domain by focusing upon an interdisciplinary area called the attention economy. I'll repeat that again, the attention economy. The attention economy brings together lenses used in 3 fields of discourse: social psychology, economics, and technology studies. From social psychology, it borrows the idea of mindedness, that humans attend to reality selectively by attending to certain aspects, front burner attention, while pushing others into back burner or even inattentive status. From economics, it suggests that at a macroanalytic level, what is scarce is not information, but attention. All of you who go around talking about the information society have the dog by the wrong end. You're picking it up by the tail. Really, what is scarce is attention. From technology, it borrows the discussion of how the platform is replacing the market and how this is escalating a competition over who gets attention. In this discussion tonight, I, A, introduce the attention economy, B, show its relationship to the much more frequently discussed information society, and C, use insights to point towards 5 changes that thinking about the attention economy leads to in civility in the public domain. I chose this particular topic because of the notion of the public sphere that the global civic society is interested in. First slide, please. The first slide speaks to the marketplace of quiet signals. Using condensed symbols, we might say that the book and the selling of it creates a market in which signal sellers, called authors, use intermediaries, called publishers, to get their attention-getting commodities to book purchasers or signal receivers. In this simple market, attention-getting is voluntary, front burner, non-intrusive, at least to those who read the signal sender's works, authors, and speak about it with others. It is supposed that successful signal senders or attention getters get reputations by building up a bevy of satisfied readers. Moreover, the style and substance used by successful signal senders, in our instance, authors of books, by and large becomes a model for those who seek to succeed at sending signals in this market. Attention markets are rarely visible. Next slide. The individual immersed in his computer in Bryant Park is engaged in the attention economy. The attention economy ports towards very different premises than a much better known competitor, the information society. However, one must note that information is far from scarce. From an information receiver perspective, we are flooded with it. By one analysis, there are more facts in a single edition of the Sunday New York Times than anyone in the world could have commanded in, say, the 15th century. In 1472, for example, the best university library in the world at Queen's College in Cambridge had 199 books. Today, more than 300,000 new books spew forth from worldwide presses every year. The web includes at least 2 billion pages, a large chunk of which can't even be found with the best search engine. And let's not forget that there are 11,339 distinct electronic bases, up from the 301 electronic bases in 1975. The information society draws attention to information overload or glut. It does not draw attention to what is scarce, namely itself, attention. Today, as is clear in slide 3, women looking at map, we navigate our built environment by paying attention to important signs and wayfinder information. This requires several skills. One must pay attention to that which is relevant. To do so, social psychologists point out that we tend to create bandwagons. When a large number of persons pay attention to a signal as relevant, we assume it is valuable and relevant. Of course, in attention economy, those of you that are on the ball are beginning to connect the attention economy to celebrity, scandal revelations, the politics of character assassination, and the increasing likelihood that attention will be paid to those who disrupt routine. And of course, if you're thinking of civility, those who disrupt routine are hardly so. Social, psychological, and economic studies indicate as we move from markets in which people know one another and intend to continue transactions over time, a degree of trust and civility sets in. This is not accidental. The chauffeur who drives his or her client about on a daily arrangement is less likely than the taxi with a tourist in tow to take the long way around. In the next slide, notice how humans form large groups of anonymous others, and when they do so, the architecture of the platform begins to replace the quiet symbols of the other market. The other market is the bazaar or the village. The people on the bridge indicate that by and large, platforms organize the flow of people signaling to one another. One of the most important but least understood components of the attention economy is that the shift towards platforms as a means of engaging in attention giving and receiving transactions changes the way we are going to think about the public sphere. Platforms are attention stages. I'm on one right now, where signal senders and receivers are empowered to select what others will pay attention to. On these platforms, the owners of platforms, whether Apple's App Store, Rogers Mobile, Google, the Georgia Strait personal ads, or Craigslist's, whether these be publicly traded companies or open source communities, all lead us to the very bandwagons that organize what it is we pay attention to. Those who receive attention on the platform are said to earn it. Notice the economic. After all, their attention signal beat out its competitors. The platform creates the stage for the public square of the future. Next slide. It is the commons. This commons is held together by the aggregation of bandwagons, but now at the level of massive, even global numbers. Even as we have seen in experiencing the platform, like the Olympics and its impact upon upon Vancouver, there is a positive affect to the intelligent crowd and a negative affect to the brutal crowd. The new common escalates competition. To draw large numbers of people and businesses, attention-grabbing behavior is highly rewarded. Signal senders placed on the platform attempt to grab attention. That, by the way, is what marketing tries to do very well. Those who pay attention to others' signals diminish their economic and persuasion powers by turning in a direction and away from another. Those who capture attention create a desirable phenomena called stickiness. Stickiness refers to the ability of the attention signal, for example, a website or a political campaign, not merely to attract attention, but to sustain the signal receiver's interest over time. We heard Borealis today. Music not only must capture your attention, but in its movement, sustain it. The greater the stickiness, the more likely that the platform becomes a sustained attention platform and is capable, by and large, of developing a smart and intelligent crowd. In the next slide, Times Square cacophony, the brutal crowd. One sees what I believe within the attention economy, a logic that is not only embodied in the Ethernet or cyberspace, but also in bricks and mortar. Times Square speaks to a complex attention economy commons. The architecture of the platform attracts huge numbers of strangers. From the signal receiver's perspective, one can certainly conjecture that there seems to be a heck of a lot of information overload here. However, platform owners and signalers are very happy with the increased flow of voluntary signal receivers that seem to travel great distances in order to be where they believe the action is. Next slide. The future commons is a complex one, and I have yet to figure out whether it's brutal or kind. Like the young people in the slide before holding up their cell phones, the attention economy calls attention to platforms and stages which has increasingly become scattered and exists in virtual space with virtual property and with virtual reputations. In this brief discussion today, I'm not going to look at specific platforms like Facebook, which promises both a quiet spot for the development of personal relationships embedded in friendships and the means of letting strangers know who and what you are, as well as a contender for virtual public space in a business. What is required on the platform is to recognize that the more voluntary the relationship is to the attention, the more back burner it is, and the more non-intrusive it is, the more likely it is to be intelligent and kind. As promised, I shall provide 5 suggestions on how the attention economy is going to impact civility in the commons. Last slide. We are here. This is the place in which we design our commons. It is important to recognize that what you pay attention to is who you essentially are in the process of becoming. Number 1, emotions, particularly a high level of pitch, are going to increase in public messaging and become part of the commons. We have to figure out largely how to build strong, controversial emotions into the commons. Families know how to do this, but by and large, businesses still have trouble with this. Certainly politics has troubles with it. Emotions in the commons means that essentially individuals are going to act disruptively, erupt, or show a great deal of libido. And the commons has always had trouble with disruptive signs of libidinous energy. Number 2, rudeness captures attention and becomes an ongoing problem in civility in the commons. Notice rudeness does not sustain attention, but it captures it. We could look at Paris Hilton. We could look at all forms of what I call celebrity of rudeness. Periodic rudeness, however, can capture attention. Do recognize that how we handle rudeness is a great deal with the design of the future common. How we handle rudeness in virtual worlds, a great deal of emphasis here. Number 3, the beeps and sounds that auditorily call receivers to a platform will become shriller and more demanding. The noise of the commons is part of its design. All those who were told to put on their cell phones, all those who find that when they go to a video arcade, the beeping and the popping of noise sounds this is going to be part of where the action is. And the reason, by the way, that silence is not part of the commons is silence does not, by and large, capture our attention. The only way in which silence captures our attention is when it disrupts the cacophony. So leaving Times Square for the wilderness is a perfect example of that. Number 4, the use of avatars, assumed identities, and virtual identifiers as a means of entering platforms will multiply exponentially. The idea that you have a fixed identity and the sort of authenticity that was sought after in the 60s may be a thing of the past. The commons may be people with those who are not as they present themselves. And in some senses, this means that both there is a lot of shilling and a lot of commercial activity, but there's a lot of search. The commons invites you to become something other than you were born into. The commons is a platform where mobility, rather than tradition, offers itself. Number 5, and last, more and more individuals will bypass the corporation or conventional workplace in their bid for wealth and go directly to attention-grabbing, attention-sustaining platforms like the web and sell their brand or story for what in some instances may be a fortune. See American Idol, Canadian Idol. Conclusion. As a postscript, it's important to note that the operation of the persistence paradox in the attention economy. What this means is that styles and messages of getting attention have a relatively short lifespan. In other words, once attention-getting techniques or messages are successful, they will be emulated, and as a consequence, large portions of the public will become desensitized to it. What this means is that at a collective level, the future speaks not simply to the commons in which attention grabbers become more and more prevalent, but one in which attention grabbing requires continual repackaging and ongoing development of breaks to the histrionic nature of this commons. Thank you very much.